when a person sits down to write a book, he has a very good idea in his mind of the matter of the book.
Mhm.
You have to take care that you don't take shortcuts
Mhm.
and leave the reader stranded without a proper understanding of what you want to convey.
Well said.
At the same time, you can't go into so much detail that you leave the reader bored to tears.
Mhm.
You've lost the reader then.
Correct.
So it's a balancing act, between conveying what you want and cutting the clutter.
Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a vodcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you're new to our channel, please consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very accomplished author, Rajiv Behel. Rajiv, welcome to the show. Rajiv is the author of two different books, Reimagining Jobs in a Fast Changing World and The Economic Reactor. He has been the founder of Fun Foods, which is a well known brand which he exited from. And in his other avatars, he's been a sailor, he's been an entrepreneur, and of course, he's an author. So, Rajiv, let's talk about your book, Reimagining Jobs in a Fast Changing World. Tell me about your book.
About 4 years back,
Mhm.
I started reading, an increasing number of articles
Mhm.
about how jobs would be taken away, by artificial intelligence and
Okay.
robotics and everything.
Mhm.
And I decided to do some research on it. After some time, it became apparent that this was indeed the case. A number of jobs across, most fields of human activity would be
Mhm.
under threat.
Mhm.
And that uh, it would lead to a few things. It would lead to, the quality of goods and services would improve. Goods would become, prices would drop and goods would become plentiful.
Mhm.
On the flip side, jobs would not be there.
Okay.
The jobs would keep decreasing. This led to three concerns. Number one, without jobs, how are people going to, going to raise their families? What are they going to do for money?
Mhm.
Uh, the second thing was uh, uh, how how will the country as a whole avoid unrest and perhaps even anarchy, because it could lead to a volatile
Sure.
situation.
Sure.
And the third concern was how would the economy sustain itself.
Mhm.
And I needed some answers to these questions. I started working on it. That's how the book came about.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And when I was going through it, you've spoken about 8 areas which you
Uh-huh.
have examined and where the changes will happen. Talk to me about these areas, with
Okay.
examples if necessary.
Okay. Before I start talking about these 8 areas, let me mention
Uh-huh.
that these 8 areas are not the only areas where changes are going to happen.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
And these were chosen because I felt they were going to affect us a great deal.
Mhm.
And they are also perhaps closer to fruition than other areas.
Okay.
So, to briefly about each of these, the first, of course, is artificial intelligence,
Correct.
which is really, it doesn't do anything directly, but it is the force multiplier, it is the game changer. It is what makes changes in every other field possible.
Mhm.
With very powerful processors and very cheap sensors, it's said to permeate in every field of human activity.
Mhm.
The second is energy.
Okay.
Development in renewable energy, especially wind and solar,
Correct.
has already reached a stage where electricity from these is cheaper than it is from most fossil fuels or even nuclear energy. And with the developments happening there, it's going to get cheaper and more abundant.
Right.
And manufacturing.
Mhm.
Manufacturing, I mean, people have already started losing jobs, in droves to artificial manufacturing.
Mhm.
In fact, there are now some lights out factories, which means that they don't need lights because there are no humans who need light to find their way about.
Wow.
It's machines making more machines.
Mhm.
There's a plant near Mount Fuji in Japan, which makes 5,000 robots every month.
Okay.
It's robots making more robots,
Mhm.
sometimes in the dark.
Mhm.
Very much like humans can make more humans sometimes in the
Absolutely.
dark.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
come to that.
Correct.
The, the third is the sharing economy.
Mhm.
Now, the sharing economy is uh, it's something made possible through you know through technologies like the internet
Mhm.
and the proliferation of smartphones.
Right.
It has made companies like Airbnb, Uber, and
Mhm.
TaskRabbit possible. It has also made the gig economy and crowdfunding possible.
Correct.
There is the sharing economy can raise the standard of living of communities at a much cheaper cost than would otherwise be possible.
Right.
However, there's a backdrop to this. It needs a robust and quick and robust, justice delivery system.
Mhm.
It cannot function without that. In India, we don't have that. As a result, we missed out on the half century of cars that you could hire to drive yourself.
Mhm.
You can do it everywhere else in the world almost,
Right.
but not in India.
Yeah.
And then after that, we have the transport.
Mhm.
The transport the transport sector is seeing immense changes again. 10 years from now, there are not going to be any more petrol or diesel cars being manufactured. They're going to be all electric. The next decade will see self-driven cars and self-driving cars and trucks.
Mhm.
We'll see flying cars. We'll see intercity and intracity hyperloops.
Mhm.
But all of these are going to be artificial intelligence driven. You're not going to need any humans because we
Right.
simply do not have that such fast reaction times.
Mhm.
So while it's going to be easier to move, people and goods from one place to another,
Mhm.
millions of jobs are going to be gone.
Gone, is it? Okay.
Then water is another this thing which is uh, there is no shortage of water on Earth.
Mhm.
3/4 of a planet is covered in water.
Correct.
Our shortage is only of fresh water.
Correct.
What we drink, what we wash with, what we farm with. But desalination technology is getting exceedingly energy efficient.
Mhm.
In the not too distant future, we are going to be able to get as much water as we need
Mhm.
at affordable prices.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think the fear of water wars will recede.
Okay.
Now, agriculture and meat production is the next area. This is changing beyond recognition.
I see.
We already have computer-controlled farming systems like hydroponics, aeroponics, aquaponics, vertical farming, integrated systems employing two or more of these systems.
Mhm.
And the best of these systems use a tenth of the water as is used in traditional farming,
True.
much less fertilizer, and no pesticides at all.
Mhm.
They produce healthier than what we have in normal farming,
Mhm.
and they are also more. Their yield is more per unit area, and also per unit time, meaning that multiple crops can be taken out from them.
Mhm.
And these do not require good soil. These methods don't require good soil quality. Even they don't require the right temperatures or even sunlight.
Mm.
They could be grown in mine shafts, in shipping containers, and they could be grown on the moon or on Mars. It's
Absolutely.
it's possible.
Absolutely.
Meats now for meats there is a big change. Petri dish or meats grown in petri dish or bioreactors,
In laboratories.
which are identical cell to cell, for normal meats, and they are not soybean products or anything like that. in December last year, Singapore became the first country to license the sale of lab-grown chicken nuggets. I'm sure other meats will follow soon enough.
Yes.
There's a Finnish company by the name of Solar Foods, which has gone one step ahead. It has started making edible protein out of electricity, air, and water.
Wow.
With the help of microbes. In the future, we are going to be able to divorce food from farm and farm animals.
Amazing.
Which is very big.
Fantastic.
Now health. Again, there are breakthroughs happening in both the prescriptive and the curative aspects of medicine. And to cut a long story short, that's going to lead to longer and healthier lives for all of us. But it's not going to lead to any great increase of jobs.
Okay.
So these are the 8 areas, but I couldn't, I had limited myself to a limited number of areas, but I couldn't resist the temptation to look at some of the main concerns, roti, kapda or makan. And as far as roti is concerned, there are now automatic cooking devices available off the shelf, which can give you restaurant quality food using healthier ingredients at a fraction of their cost.
Correct.
This is not only going to impact restaurants, it's going to impact home delivered meals and the number of jobs that you can well imagine. Kapda, there are already automatic machines, computer controlled machines that stitch garments at a price that is paid to the poorest paid workers in the poorest countries.
Right.
These countries which have a thriving garment business will one day find themselves without orders and hence without jobs. Makan, again, construction industry is going. You can today 3D print a modest house in one day on site. Not so long ago in China, they built a large 57-story building in 19 days using prefab technology.
Correct.
You can extrapolate this to see, where these industries and their jobs will be in time to come.
Yes.
No matter where we look, what we see is increased efficiency and fewer jobs.
Very interesting. And yet, you speak about 100 million jobs being created.
Yes, 100 million jobs. Okay, let me start about 100 million jobs. These jobs would be, just a second, these jobs would be created because of something known as the local multiplier effect. This was first spoken about by John Maynard Keynes in his 1936 book, The General Theory of Employment and Money and Interest. Later, Professor Enrico Moretti of the University of California, Berkeley, it came back into prominence because of his work. He found that in Cupertino, in California, when Apple brought 13,000 jobs into Cupertino, it created an additional 70,000 jobs.
Absolutely. Correct.
And when it created the 70,000 jobs, basically, if money is spent in a community, it creates demand for goods and services, which leads to the creation of jobs to meet the demand.
Well said. Well said.
And when his findings were so surprising that it spurred a lot of other studies in other parts of the world, which by and large validated his findings. The surprise exception was Italy. Number of researches done in Italy found that no additional jobs were created. And the only explanation that could be found was that, the conditions caused by the bureaucratic delays in Italy for starting a new job was new business was so onerous that people chose not to start new businesses.
Very interesting.
And this led me to thinking that when money coming into a community, actually, it is when jobs come into a
Mhm.
community. Uh, I'll cut myself short. All studies have been done on the effect of job creation
Mm.
when new jobs come into a community.
Correct.
No studies have been done on when a little money comes into many hands in a community for the simple reason that such a condition has never existed anywhere before countrywide. To my mind, it is not the number of jobs that come in that is important. It is the amount of money that comes in,
Correct.
which is important, and how it is spent.
Very interesting. So let's now move to another part of our conversation, and I'm going to want to talk to you about your writing.
Okay.
After such an amazing, career as a sailor, and then you built Fun Foods. What made you start writing?
uh, Actually, I had in my sailing days, I started. I was very young then in my sailing
Sure.
days, but I started getting interested in economics for the simple reason when I found myself,
Mm.
visiting neighboring countries
Right.
which had similar resources, but economically, the economic development was in vastly different fields.
Mhm.
It got me thinking, why should it be so?
Mhm.
And having plenty of time at sea, I started reading, whatever I could. I got it became a sort of an obsession with me.
Mhm.
And then when I started a business in India, I realized India is not an easy place to do
Sure.
business in.
Sure.
And I realized, how things could be better and different. My company was doing very well. It was growing fast, thriving. One of the reasons I sold the company was
Mm.
to try and sit down and see if I could actually write what was in my head. If I could put it down on paper.
Wonderful.
And I gave it a shot, and it worked.
Absolutely. So a follow-up question to that, Rajiv, is that what makes a good writer?
I'm not even sure I'm qualified to answer that question.
You've written 2 books, so you can certainly tell me your thoughts.
And anyway, but I can share one thing with
Mhm.
you. This is a difficulty I faced.
Mhm.
When a person sits down to write a book, he has a very good idea in his mind of the matter of the book.
Mhm.
You have to take care that you don't take shortcuts
Mhm.
and leave the reader stranded without a proper understanding of what you want to convey.
Well said.
At the same time, you can't go into so much detail that you leave the reader bored to tears.
Mm.
You've lost the reader then.
Correct.
So it's a balancing act, between conveying what you want and cutting the clutter.
Very well said. Very well said.
So
And tell me, I'm also, I've also written a few books.
yes, I'm aware of that.
My
But-
question, and I've often been asked this question, so I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay,
When you are writing,
right.
do you follow a fixed schedule? Do you have a schedule when you write?
No, I am afraid I'm not a very disciplined person in that.
Okay.
I could write 5 pages in a day,
Huh.
or I could struggle for 5 days to get a paragraph right.
Okay.
So I am not disciplined in that way.
Okay.
My favorite times for writing are early morning
Yeah.
with a pot of tea by my side, or in the evening with a drink in hand.
Yeah.
The thoughts were better, but that's personal.
Well said. Well said. And it's so interesting you say this because when I write and when I'm in the, when I'm not doing anything else but decide to write. There are days when I wake up at 2:30 in the morning,
Okay.
and by the time my wife wakes up at 6,
Uh-huh.
I would have finished 3,000 words.
Yeah.
So it's a question of what frame of mind you're in. So very
Yeah.
well said.
Yeah.
So Rajiv, I'm now going to move to the next segment of our conversation, which is some questions for you personally.
Okay.
You have been a shippy, you have been an entrepreneur, you're an author, seen
Okay.
the world. What are some of the core values you believe in?
Well, my core values, I would say, my first thing is I value clarity in thought
Mhm.
in others as well as in myself.
Okay.
I uh, I I admire those who can cut through the jargon, and get to the core issue.
Right.
This may be contradictory, but I value prudence. At the same time, I value the ability to take calculated risks. This may be contradictory, but,
Yeah.
but both are real.
Absolutely right.
I do not value, the habit of seeking constant approval from others.
Mm.
I do not value those who must put all their doings on Facebook or other things looking for likes.
Mhm.
And I suppose I have very middle class values, of common sense, prudence, perseverance, um, self confidence, and above all, I think the ability to look at an issue from another's point of view.
Very well said. Very well said.
And
Very well. And a follow-up question for you then is that, you know, after so many years of work, when you look back from where you stand today, what does success mean to Rajiv?
all right, I'm going to get a little poetic here.
Okay.
It's success. When we go through life, trying to raise our families and bring up our children, we are often forced to sell our days of gold for pieces of silver. I think it was Khalil Gibran who said this, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
And we've been doing that. For me, success is when I can call most of my time my own.
Okay.
And success is being able to do with my time what I enjoy doing and having the means to do that.
Okay.
That's my
very well said, and that only further states what you just mentioned, that you have got very middle class values, and I think
yes.
I resonate with that because I have a similar background like you do.
And
very well said, very well said. And again, a follow up question to that, Rajiv, is who or what inspires you?
What inspires me? Actually, I get inspired. My heroes in life are people, discoverers, thinkers who have, broken new ground and thinking new things,
right,
and expanded our knowledge about our world and about ourselves. There's just too many of them to this thing. I could probably start with Thales or Metellus, who was, and whether it is Darwin or Einstein,
sure,
there are just too many to mention. But people who expand our understanding. Those are my heroes.
Very interesting. And my last question now to you, and this is a question on failure. And again, comes from middle class values in our country. I've often said, and I have a new book that came out 2 months ago on failure. I've often said that parents in India or South Asia don't teach children it's okay to fail. We're always told first, be at the head of the line, etc., and that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. So my question to you is, what have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes?
While it's important to keep learning lessons from life, small mistakes, I don't think I have had such a big failure that it taught me any life-changing lessons. I think that's probably because of prudence. Whatever risks I have taken in life, I guess I've always had a fallback position in case it didn't work out.
Sure.
And when I started business, it wasn't a risk at all, because if it didn't work out, I could go back to sea. I had a certificate that was valid for life, recognized in most parts of the world. It wasn't really a risk. It was a gamble, but no earth-shaking experiences.
Anyway, okay, well said. So, Rajiv, I think I've come to the end of our conversation. I just want to thank you. I mean, it's been such an amazing conversation on your book.
Okay.
I love the 8 areas that you have researched so much on.
Okay.
And I wish you lots of success with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashutosh. It's so kind of you to have that. It's been a pleasure. It's been a good experience.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for The Brand Called You.